Hi there, I'm Kevin O'Connor and welcome back to this old house where we are working in Dorchester, Massachusetts. This is one of the largest neighborhoods in Boston and known for its large collection of beautiful three-deckers like the one behind us and the one right here that we are working on. Now this house was built in 1905 and anytime a home is built around that era, it is likely to have some hazardous building materials in it, and lead paint is always a big culprit. Well, this house had a fire a year ago, and so when they took out all of that damaged material, the lead came out as well. But that leaves us with one more to contend with, which is why we've got Ron Pike. Hey, Ron.
Hey, good to see you, Kevin.
Good to see you again. So you always show up when we've got these problems with contaminants.
We sure do, we sure do.
Found some more?
We found some more. What we found this time is, not surprisingly, some asbestos, and it's right in here.
This is quite the elaborate chamber you have built for us, Ron.
Going through the environmental airlocks.
Beautiful. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There we go.
What are we looking at?
We're looking at asbestos-wrapped ductwork. It's got basically about 25% asbestos, and that stuff is put on there like wallpaper. So it's glued on there. The ducts are assembled at the factory. They would use it for insulation and also for sound deadening and also for sealing.
So standard back in the day, but now we know that this is no longer allowed.
Right. Well, Charlie's putting in a new system, so all the ductwork has to go, and now we have to do an abatement job because this is, again, 25% asbestos, so it's pretty high asbestos content. As you can see, the edges of the asbestos are becoming friable or airborne, and that's when the asbestos fibers do their damage because they now become breathable. They get into your lungs, and they can cause all sorts of problems, asbestosis and mesothelioma.
Right. So out it comes. You guys ready to get going?
Yes, we are.
All right, let's get out of your chamber and put them to work.
So what we've done is we've actually built this containment structure in the foyer so we can isolate the work area. There's a 3-stage decon chamber going towards the front door with a clean room, a shower, and then an equipment room. So that's where the guys enter and exit. And ultimately, all the air is controlled with this negative air machine. HEPA filtration, it's taking all the dirty air out of that work area and then venting it to the outside, nice and clean.
So that blows out a window, and because you've got everything taped up, you're secure, you're sealed, good to go.
Yep.
Beautiful.
The first thing we're going to do is wet down those asbestos fibers with amended water, and that minimizes any dust generation while those ducts are coming up. Even with this containment and our negative air, you still want to do whatever you can to minimize any dust release.
And the water's amended how?
It has a surfactant in there, so it actually tends to penetrate the asbestos, where asbestos is a little more resistant to water.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're really trying to do, right? If these things don't get airborne, we're all a lot safer.
Exactly. Once that's done, they're going to dismantle that flange right there, and we're taking it out in one piece, basically, from the second floor. It's been disconnected up there, and it's just going to come right down in one segment, about a 5-foot long segment.
And so how do you actually get rid of those? Because we've seen you work with asbestos that you've torn up and it gets shoveled into a bag.
Right.
How do you get a 5-foot piece of metal ductwork out?
We're going to take, there's special asbestos disposal bags. We're going to put one on the bottom, one on top, and then tie it together, and then double bag it. Do that again, because all asbestos waste has to be wet and double bagged.
And after double bag, where does it go?
It goes to an EPA licensed hazardous waste landfill. It's a special landfill for asbestos. It's a special classification. It's essential that that bag is taped up very, very well so there is no dust emission coming out of that bag. That's also why we put it away wet. It has to go into those bags wet, and then it will be double bagged before it goes into the dumpster.
So Ron, the ductwork goes from the basement all the way up to the 3rd floor. Are you building a containment room on each level?
Yes, we have to build one on the 2nd floor, but on the 3rd floor it stops right there about at knee level, so we're just going to pull it down. We seal it up on the 3rd floor and just pull it down into the 2nd floor.
And what about the basement?
The basement is also, it ends right there, so it's been sealed up from the basement. We're going to pull it up from here. There's 3 other duct runs that we're going to be taking care of, one of them going through the chimney.
So the whole project for you, how much time do you think?
It should be done about 3 days.
All right. Well, we appreciate the help as always.
Oh, my pleasure.
While this building is wide open, it's a perfect time to analyze the drain, waste, and vent plumbing and see what we can reuse. And for that, Ronnie Taylor is going to be our master plumber on this job. How are you?
How you doing, Richard?
Good.
Yeah.
How'd this happen? How'd you get into the plumbing game?
I met somebody when I was working out in the construction arena 30 years ago.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, super.
Yeah. Started dating, then I wind up marrying the guy.
So you got hooked on the guy and on plumbing.
On plumbing, yeah, yeah. But it changed my world,
That's right.
you know.
I'm glad you're in the world. It's great. We need more people in the
Yeah, we
game.
really do. That's the whole purpose of me continuing to let people know that, you know, the sky's the limit with plumbing.
yeah.
You know, it's not just waste.
Yeah.
Look at the astronauts,
Yeah.
you know.
Wastewater, comfort. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Vacuum.
So we got to think about this building. So 3 deca, all the bathrooms in the same place. We're going to
Yeah.
try to reuse what we can, right?
Yeah.
What do you see?
The first thing I see is that drum trap.
Okay. So that's the 3rd floor bathtub, and it has the drum trap. Those are no longer legal. I'm not sure they ever were, because they can't be cleared by a drain snake, and they don't scour. All right, so that goes away.
And then I'm really concerned about that no-hub clamp up there.
So the mechanical coupling up
Yeah.
inside, you don't want to leave that up inside the ceiling, so you're going to change that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's non-accessible.
Yeah.
So if it did have to change,
You bet.
you have to open up the whole ceiling. From the center of the stack to the center of the tub, it has to be 2 inch to do wet
All right, so you're saying that this horizontal is 2 inch right here, but it gets smaller, and
Reduced
that's,
down to
that's
inch and
no
a half,
good.
yeah.
So this has to go full size over to the trap.
Right,
Okay, so that's
exactly.
easy to get at. Good. All right, so the existing cast iron, that doesn't have to change, right?
No, I wouldn't change it because it's quieter
Yeah.
versus PVC.
It'll last forever, and the
It'll last
PVC give it
forever, right,
a little more
exact-
noise.
Exactly. You definitely don't want to hear the people upstairs flushing the toilet or taking a shower.
That's what you notice
or
in a 3
brushing their
decker.
teeth. What's also real important is to make sure that the integrity of this galvanized vent.
So that's the vent pipe, and you're worried
Right.
that it's clogged on the inside.
Yeah, you just got to make sure because sometimes there's a lot of buildup from the integrity of the pipe. That you see
Yeah,
that right
rust,
there?
sure, yeah.
The rust in the
Okay.
inside.
So we'd want to chase that and make sure the
Yeah, that's
air
real
can vent.
important to make sure it's clean and it's going to hold up.
All right, so what do we have to prove on the cast iron? Anything we got to
Oh, yeah,
do?
the real important is because the property been closed for 2 years.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the main sanitary is
Yeah.
open. So what we have to do is camera to make
Run
sure.
the camera.
Run a camera.
Oh, we love going down inside the pipes. All right, so down here in the basement, we are underneath the 3 bathrooms that are right here. There's our stack. Looks like they've already turned this into PVC down low here. And they've got some of the old cast iron horizontal still there. We should check and see if that's okay, because that's had water sitting in it.
This is the 2 mechanics here. We're going to get
Hey,
ready
guys.
to.
Good.
So Richard, this is Sean, and this is Courtney.
Okay, good.
And what we're getting ready to do is we're going to camera the sewer line to make sure
Perfect.
everything's correct. You can see it on this screen here.
Yeah.
We're going down. And now at the beginning, we're in the cast iron pipe. And we'll keep on going.
And the way the lens is, you're actually, the bottom of the pipe is at the top of the screen. Yep, you see this. Yep, keep going.
so as you
there's a
see,
joint,
we're going
there's a
down there.
joint.
Yeah.
So now we're going to turn. Looks like an elbow fitting. Let's see. Ooh, what's that?
Right there you
Some
see
sort of
it's-
blockage there. Look at that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's definitely something that's not supposed to be there. So this is a really great tool, because why get the whole plumbing system working perfectly if it's going to be stopped up
Right.
here? All right, so what do you do? What's your plan?
The next solution would be to jet it.
So with high pressure water, so to push it down.
We'll put it, yeah.
Can you handle the jetting?
Oh, yeah, most definitely, Richard.
All
This
right.
is what we do.
Good.
You know
We're in
what I
your
mean?
good hands.
Yeah,
Awesome. Great.
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Boston has a long history of community gardens. In the city, this slice of green is very cherished by the urban dwellers, and it's well sought after. Carol grew up on a farm and loves to garden. Isn't that right, Carol?
Yes, I did grow up on a farm and I love to garden.
So how'd you get into this amazing plot down here?
Well, I met a lady named Alma. We taught kids together.
Okay.
And she told me about the garden she had and she needed help with it. And so I said I would, and I bring my sister along.
That's so lucky, because I know it's really difficult to get on a list in any urban garden setting. This is just such a great sense of community. Everyone's working together. And what do you guys like about it?
I like getting back to nature, growing my own food. I like meeting people, because I love meeting people.
Yeah.
And I like seeing my sister grow the food. Because I'm the gardener. She's the gardener.
So you do the talking, you do the growing.
Yeah, I do the gardening.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
So So I like it because kids don't realize how things are grown.
Right.
So I love to bring my nephews and kids out here, and I know one of the gardeners out here who does bring the grandkids out here to teach them about gardening, that things grow. They don't just show up in the grocery store.
Right. It is like the basic fundamental thing to know, like where your food comes from.
Exactly.
And then you take a little bit of pride, especially when you grow it. It does something to your soul, and it just
Right.
And you know, it tastes better.
yeah,
Tastes
absolutely.
better than
Yeah, it does taste
store-bought.
much better.
Yes.
So fresh vegetables is my thing.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I think people here like doing that too.
What do you like to
Yeah.
grow?
I like tomatoes.
Tomatoes. And you?
And I don't like tomatoes. I'm allergic to tomatoes. So I actually grow collard greens and squash and some beans. So that's my thing.
That's awesome. All right, well, I would love to take a little tour around to see what
Okay.
everyone's been growing.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, cool.
It's about 40 or 50 plots out here now. And as you can see, people have various vegetables that they grow out here. And it's a community garden, so there are people that live in the projects here, and there are people who live in the apartments across the street.
Okay.
These are the ones that have these gardens out here, and they started it 50 years ago.
That's incredible.
So, this is Miss Alma's plot right here.
Okay.
And
And
I have my
this-
tomatoes over
That's
there.
her Willie's tomatoes.
Okay.
And then we had a little squash right here, but you know, that's gone, cleaning up the garden. And this is Miss Marjorie Hill's garden right here, who's been here since the garden started.
50 years ago.
50 years ago, this is her garden. And what we do is people do help each other out.
Yeah.
They give tips. And since Miss Marjorie's been here, and she's a farmer herself, and
Yeah.
she was raised on a farm.
Right.
So she usually gives people tips, and they ask her questions
Yeah.
about what's going on. And this is my little plot on Miss Marjorie's garden
What do you
that
have
she gives
growing
me.
here?
And I have collards that I grow here.
We had some squash.
I had some beans, and you can see there's still little buds of squash trying to grow.
Oh, look
but
at
I don't
those.
think they're going to make it.
Now, does any of this come back from childhood, having did you grow this kind of stuff growing
Yeah,
up?
we did grow collards.
Yeah.
We do grow squash, but it's probably the variations of different squash that we grow that don't grow here,
Yeah.
that we get here. But I love the yellow squash. Right.
I love it, you guys.
Yeah.
Three-deckers have been a mainstay of New England architecture since the Civil War. Our neighborhood in Dorchester at one time had over 5,000. That's the largest collection anywhere.
I like the architectural rhythm of them, almost hypnotic as they parade down the street with their Porsches, and the sense that they are distinctive cultural features like the New England accent.
Arthur Krim is an expert on three-deckers. It's no exaggeration to say he wrote the book.
The basic format, which is 3 stories with a side entry and a flat roof, had developed just after the Civil War. They lasted after the First World War in a modified, rather stripped-down version until the Great Depression hit in 1930. The best of them were 1905 through 1915 was the most productive of all the eras. But it was a standard form in most New England cities for the immigrant families. You could buy a 3-decker at an attractive enough price and rent out 2 of the floors for either your family or for people coming into the neighborhood. It was just right on the profit margin. They built so many of them that they just became the housing stock, and they provided the means of economic advancement for these immigrant families.
For a builder, a 3-decker was cheaper to build because they were so similar.
All 3-deckers, at least in the Boston area, had bay windows, which they adopted from upper-class townhouses. And it gave 3-deckers, particularly in wood where you could put jigsaw decoration on them, a very delightful style. The floor plan usually had a living area around the bay window in the front. Then there was a dining area and a kitchen area in the rear. But in the reality of the three-decker life and the rentals, often these so-called designated rooms were turned into bedrooms. The best of the three-decker styles came in when the colonial revival style filtered into the upper class building. So you had these columned porches. Some were decorated in classical style, some very simply just with a fluted post, but they gave enough distinction and enough character to the porches so that they became a matter of pride.
Our project house is typical of the three-decker style.
It has stained glass windows. It has huge, almost Inca-style granite foundations from the Quincy granite. They're really quite remarkable that way. And it matches houses on either side, so the builder built in 2s and 3s.
These simple buildings have increased in value dramatically. Dorchester three-deckers sold in the 80s for as little as $15,000. Today, some go for well over $1 million.
Three-deckers have become prime, attractive real estate for the very reasons that they were at the turn of the 20th century, which is they provide good living space close into the city with a chance to do a little garden, grow some tomatoes. The only problem is that they were built before the automobile and there's no parking.
In the 80s, our house had new vinyl siding put on it and it looked great. You know, if you pay attention to the detail of the house and you install vinyl, it can look like wood. But the vinyl is no match from the heat of a fire. Vinyl is actually hung on the house. It's meant to move, expands and contracts over its weight from the heat of the sun. So when you hang it, it has to hang loose and the joints overlap one another. So I can actually pull that right out, and starts right here on the bottom with this starter strip. It snaps into the starter strip and locks back in. All right, now we're going to replace all of the siding on this side of the house because that's where the fire damage is up there. And the reason we're going to replace the whole side is because if you look at the siding, it has faded, and the insurance company says that you can replace this whole side so it will match. And we're going to start up top by removing the siding and working our way down. As the siding is hung, there's a little bit of a gap behind it, so he can get the pitchfork right in there behind it, between the nails, push it down, and rip the siding right off. But as you can see, the nails are still left on the wall, and the heads are sticking out slightly. That's because the siding is hung on that nail. That's that foiled paper that's basically a radiant barrier. It reflects the hot sun away from the building in the summertime, but it also helps keep heat in the building in the wintertime. The vinyl siding hides old layers of shingles. Many of those burnt when the vinyl melted in the blaze. The charred shingles must also come off. night, those shingles came off pretty good. So Russ, you run across this a lot with all this built-up siding?
Yes, you do. From the basic shingles, clapboards, then they go with the asphalt shingles sometimes, or aluminum siding.
Oh yeah.
And we ended up with vinyl here.
What's ever popular at the time.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, so now you got to fix this problem. You've got 1x8 tongue and groove sheathing, and you've got, obviously you're not going to take off this siding over here, Charlie.
No, we're not going to rip it all up because we don't have to. Plus, we're not going to get paid for it from the insurance company.
Right.
Well, after we rip all the siding off, pull all the nails, we're going to take our 2x and use them as fillers because, believe it or not, the 1.5 inch of a 2x works out for the build-out.
Thickness is perfect.
Yeah, and we don't have to take any of this off. One, it's solid also, and it's also going to add to the R value, I figure.
Oh, absolutely. Keep the house tighter, and you don't have to pay for all the trash and all the labor to get rid of it.
That's right. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a filler on the base, and then we're going to take 2x4s and put them on every 16 on center and actually